You're watching BCTV. We're all about Brantford. You're watching BCTV, Brantford Government Television, a service of Brantford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Brantford.
Okay, so I have 7:04. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Any reason not to, Aaron?
Nope, not that I know of.
Okay, we'll call this meeting
Recording in progress.
Call this meeting of the Brantford Planning and Zoning Commission to order. It is Thursday, October 20th, 2022. I have 7:04 p.m. I'll introduce members of the commission and staff this evening. Joe Chadwick. Joe, are you here?
Joe Chadwick is present.
Thank you, Joe. Commission member Fred Russo, excuse me, getting ahead of myself.
Fred Russo is here. Present.
Thank you, Fred. Joe Viuzzo. Joe, are you here?
Joe Viuzzo's here.
Great. Marcy Pelusi. Marcy?
Marcy Pelusi's here.
And no Massimo, right? We don't see Massimo.
I do not see him online now.
No. Sharon Hutner. Sharon?
Sharon Hutner is here.
Sharon is here. And I am Chuck Anders, Chair. Our staff this evening is Harry Smith, our town planner. Harry, you're here.
I'm here.
Evan Brining, our assistant planner. Evan?
I'm here.
And also lurking, our recording secretary clerk is Michelle Martin. I'll ask our secretary to read the notice of public hearing. Marcy, can you do that?
I can. It's Marcy Pelusi. The legal notice for Town of Brantford. The Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Brantford, Connecticut hereby gives notice of public hearings to be held on Thursday, October 20th, 2022 at 7 p.m. by remote technology to consider the applications listed below. Information regarding how to participate in the public hearings will be provided on the Commission's meeting agenda that will be posted on the town's website at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. Item number 1, application number 22-7.7, special exceptions for research laboratory, general office, and section 6.8, grading within 100 feet of an inland wetland located at 819 through 841 East Main Street, 819 East Main Street, LLC, care of Marjorie Shansky, applicant, Sullivan Farm, LLC, care of John Sullivan. Item number 2, application number 22-9.1, special exception coastal site plan for grading section 6.8 for the construction of a single-family home located at 125 Thimble Island Road. Matthew and Stephanie Milano, applicants and owner. Item number 3, application number 22-9.4, a PDD master plan modification located at 367, 373 through 375, 377, 383 East Main Street, Metro 375 LLC and Metro 383 LLC, care of Robert H. Smith Jr., applicant and owner. Item number 4, application number 22-9.6, special exception for a home occupation located at 181 Leeds Island Road, Daniel Mahid, applicant, Side Hill Springs LLC, owner. At said hearings, all persons will have the right to be heard. Copies are on file in the Planning and Zoning Commission's Planning and Zoning Department, 1019 Main Street, Brantford, Connecticut 06405. Written communications may be sent to the above address or to planning and zoning at brantford-ct.gov. There you go.
Chuck Anders, Chair. Thank you, Marcy. We'll follow our normal format for public hearings. And that is that the applicant goes first, makes its presentations. After the applicant makes its presentation, we turn it over to the commission and staff. We typically have a summary of the staff report, and we open it up to questions, comments from commission members. When that's done, then we open it up for the public portion. And I'll ask Harry or Evan to explain how to participate, but state your name and address for the record, make your comments, After the public portion is done, we allow the applicant to respond to any of the public portions it wishes to respond to. And we may or may not finish the public hearing. It's not unusual to continue public hearings for matters, any number of reasons. So with that, Harry or Evan, do you want to explain the process for the public to participate when we get to the public participation portion?
Sure. If your computer has a microphone for two-way communication and you'd like to participate during the public hearing, you can press the raise hand function in the participant window, or down at the bottom of your screen, there is a reactions button. You can find a raise hand button in there as well. You can type your comments into the chat or let us know that you want to participate in the chat as well. And if you're dialing in by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. And if you are going to participate, please state your name at the beginning of your comments.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Evan. With that, we'll start with our first item, which is Brian Doherty, applicant owner, 616-626 Leeds Island Road, a special exception 6.8 for grading associated with the construction of a barn within 100 feet of an inland wetland. Is the applicant ready to proceed with that one?
Yes, good evening. Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering, representing Brian Doherty. This application was actually submitted early in September, but then there was a question of whether or not we needed a variance because of two-street issue. So we have since gotten wetland approval, East Shore approval, and now ZBA approval for this accessory structure. I'll put it up on the screen. Hopefully you can all see that. The house that was built in the 1800s, this was actually two lots at one point, and Mr. Doherty combined them. So it's about a 2.5 acre parcel with roads on both sides, Leeds Island Road and South Sawmill Road on the north. So he's looking to build a barn. I can show you a picture of it. It's basically a 3-car garage with an open shed roof like area outside. But as you can see, there is no place to build a barn really that's not between the house and the street. So we got a variance just this past Tuesday night to waive that section, or to vary that section that requires it be in the rear yard. The structure looks like basically like this, 3-car garage with a little open lean-to area. There is, if I can stop this though, there's also a rendering, and that's what it looks like. It's a package deal from, I believe, from Cloder Farm. That he was, I believe, already purchased, and he's waiting on us. So that's all it is. It's just, again, this was submitted a while ago, but because of the variance thing, we had to leave and come back, and here we are.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Mr. Preddy. Evan, did you prepare the staff report for this one?
I did. Like Mr. Preddy stated, it's oversized accessory structure over 750 square feet, therefore triggering a special exception approval. They meet the bulk standards of section 3.4A, as well as the accessory use structures or accessory structures section of section 3.8, with the exception of the requirement that accessory structures be not closer to the street line. However, they received a variance on Tuesday night from the Zoning Board of Appeals. No landscaping plan required for this application, and they meet the parking requirements. And based on the application materials, it appears that the special exception criteria from section 9.8F are generally satisfied. Staff recommends one condition, that prior to the issuance of a zoning or building permit, the following shall be addressed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer, and that is that prior to the start of construction, erosion control measures shall be installed and those will be maintained throughout the project.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Evan. Any questions or comments from commission members or staff before we open up to the public? Hearing none, then let's open it up for public comment. Does any member of the public wish to comment? And Evan, just what do they need to do?
Sure, down at the bottom of your screen, there should be a reactions button. You can select that and there's an option to raise hand. You can also go over to your name on the list. And if you click that, actually, I don't see the raise hand function in that participant list anymore. I apologize. So the button down at the bottom of your screen is how you can indicate you'd like to speak, or you can indicate in the chat.
Great, thank you. Does any
Yeah,
member?
it's-
Oh, excuse
It's
me.
in the reactions, it's a reactions button, so if you mentioned that, I think you did.
Yes,
Sorry.
I don't see anyone this time.
You don't see anyone. Okay, so one more time, any member of the public wish to comment? So we see no one. Is that correct, Evan?
That's correct.
Okay. Any additional comments, Mr. Preddy?
Nope, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Great. Any questions, comments from members of the commissioner staff? Okay, hearing none, we can close this matter as a public hearing, and this seems like something we can take up in a bit.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. That brings us into item number 2, which is Matthew and Stephanie Milano, applicant and owner for 125 Thimble Island Road, special exception, coastal site plan for grading for a single family home. Applicant ready to proceed with that one?
Yeah, Jim Preddy again, Chris Golo Engineering. I'll share my screen again. So this was, we had presented this to the commission a few months ago to split this lot into 2, and there was an open space area that got deeded out, a conservation easement area that all became part of that approval in the process for the subdivision. And now we're back because of the 6.8 for grading. We are within 100 feet of a wetland, so to actually build the house that we had theoretically presented at subdivision level, we are now back for that. We did have to go again back to wetlands, and we received approval from that board as well. And they did go to the architect and the owner did go to Stony Creek last night, and I believe they got a positive referral from them with a few minor comments. I can show you the house. Let's see, these are floor plans, but so this is what the house looks like. It's a walkout in the front because of the hill that they're dealing with there. But again, they're trying to build it into the hill as much as possible. And that's from the driveway side. But again, this was, I don't remember what month it was, but it was a few months ago that we did get this approved, and we had to come back now that they have a house design and go through the boards again.
Chuck and Chair, thank you, Mr. Preddy. Evan, did you do the staff report on this one?
I did. Like Ms. Preddy stated, this is a special exception for grading within 100 feet of a critical coastal resource. They're proposing a single family home as part of that regrading. They meet the bulk standards of the R3 zoning district. No landscaping plan has been provided. They meet the off-street parking requirement. No lighting has been provided, or lighting plan has been provided, but we had a condition that would require them to meet the requirements of section 6.7. The applicant did not provide an erosion and soil control plan. However, they did add erosion control measures to the site plan. And one of these, or the stockpile area, is proposed to be on the now separately owned lot that was a part of the original lot that was subdivided back on July 7th, 2022. A condition has been added that would require that these 2 lots to remain with the same owner I believe that's the plan. I believe the owners plan to keep both properties for a significant amount of time in the future. But our condition would require that if the ownership of one of those lots changes during construction, then the stockpile has to be moved somewhere to the satisfaction of the town planner. The commission would need to find that the measures proposed, to the extent that they are alternatives from the Connecticut Deep 2002 guidelines for soil and erosion control, soil erosion and sediment control, are acceptable. The applicant appeared before the Stony Creek Architectural Review Board last night. They were issued a positive recommendation. And I can share my screen for just a moment and show what those conditions that the Stony Creek Board introduced last night. So they did recommend a positive recommendation, but they asked that the applicant consider changing the pitch of the roof over the entryway. They also would like the applicant to consider replacing the cupola with a different architectural feature more consistent with Stony Creek style, or the style of homes in Stony Creek. And the applicant should consider a replacement of the modern style single garage door with a stick style single garage door. And then the members of the board were concerned about the existing curb cut that's being used to access this house. Right now it's being used by, I believe, just railroad employees, so probably not a lot of activity on there. But they were worried that its proximity to the railroad underpass and the blind turn that's, I'm not sure how many feet away, but it might create a traffic safety issue. I wasn't sure if a condition of approval could be a part of anything that the Planning and Zoning Commission would do tonight, or if it has to be a part of the Traffic Safety Commission, or whichever commission oversees traffic safety measures. But I believe, I'm sorry, am I sharing the wrong screen right now?
I think so. We see the recommendation.
Sorry about that.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay.
Based on the application materials, they satisfy the correct special exception criteria of section 9.8F, as well as the coastal site plan criteria from section 9.7. Staff recommends the following conditions: that prior to start of construction, erosion control measures are installed and maintained throughout construction. Condition number 2 is that lighting will be compliant with section 6.7. And finally, that ownership of the lot indicated as lot 1 on sheet 1 of 2 entitled Lot 2 Plot Plan dated August 31st, 2022, and last revised on September 20th, shall remain the same as the lot indicated as Lot 2 on the same plan. On the occasion that ownership of Lot 1 changes, the stockpile shall be relocated to the satisfaction of the town planner or his designee.
Chuck Angus here. Thank you, Evan. Question from Mr. Preddy. I know the access is probably an existing roadway, but is there do you believe there's a sightline problem there, or is that something? What do you recommend?
Jim Preddy, the bridge is relatively close, but there is a driveway right next to it that seems to not have issues. I did speak with Matt Milano, and part of the discussion last night, I guess, is they were talking about installing one of those mirrors that you commonly see near hidden driveways to make sure that they could see anybody coming around the corner. But again, you know, it's a single family home. It's going to have a couple of cars a day. It's not like a multi-family house where you have a lot of cars. The other comment I was just going to add was that the Wetland Commission had the same comments about the stockpile. The Milanos don't have any plan to sell either lot at the moment, but they ended up taking it out of their recommendations because, quite frankly, I don't know that you'd be able to sell one lot with the other lot encumbering it anyway, so there'd be other issues. But they did recognize the same issue. But again, the Milanos don't have any intention of selling the lots at this point, so it's really not an issue. It's not any different really than other subdivisions where they stockpile dirt on one lot while they're working on the other lots. So
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this condition seems, it's only basically if you sell a lot while the stockpile is in existence.
Right.
You know, so that I assume they probably won't be selling, so, but in the event it does, it's there, so. Would you have any objection to a condition about installing a mirror or something for, I don't know, there could be visitors to the site or something, and I don't know, just for access or egress? I know it sounds like the property owner was talking about that, or I don't know, Scott, but I don't know.
Jim Petty, I think you can add that in, Matt. I think you're planning on putting it up anyway, correct? Yes, he's shaking his head, yes, so.
And Mr. Milano, is that okay, or you can?
Yeah, that's something that we would prefer, something that's simple and, of course, agreeable to the Stoney Creek Association or the commission that, will guide us in that.
Okay, yeah, I would the Stoney Creek Association prohibit that? I don't know. I mean, it's a safety issue, but I have no idea.
Harry Smith, town planner, I think the road is still controlled by, if it's in the right of way for any reason. I believe that's controlled by the town. It would be the local traffic authority, board of police commissioners. So if there's any issue with that, I don't know where that mirror would be, but.
Maybe we can make it an advisory condition that the applicant consult with the local traffic commission, police authority regarding the installation of a mirror to provide for visibility in access and egress or something like that.
That makes sense to me.
Because they may have the final say. Okay.
Yeah.
If it's within the town right away. And the Stoney Creek had some other look like advisory conditions, and I don't know. I mean, they look advisory to me and said consider. So I don't. And frankly, I recognize this is a grading application, so it's not so much about the design of the house. That said, I guess our regs require a review by them. But were there any reactions to those advisory comments or?
Matt, you want to join in here?
Matt, Mr. Milano?
I wasn't at the meeting last night.
Sure.
Absolutely. So Matt Milano, so last night the review board, they mentioned a few things that my architect was, he was open to making the changes, and it was really more aesthetic than anything else. And we're looking for a different option for the cupola issue, just to have some kind of lighting coming in the top. But from those changes, none of them will really be visible from any road whatsoever. So it's really not even a sight line issue or anything like that, more just a design issue. So that is something that we're currently working on with our quoting process and our build process. So absolutely.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Milano. Questions, comments from members of the commission and staff? Hearing none, let's open up the public. Does any member of the public wish to comment?
One more time, anyone that would like to comment, there's a reactions button down at the bottom of your screen. If you select that, there's an option to raise your hand, or you can indicate that you'd like to participate in the chat. I do not see anyone at this time.
Okay. Any further comments from staff or the applicant or commission members? And just so it's clear, I think we may be adding the condition about consulting with the local traffic authority regarding installation of mirror. I don't know, do you recommend we put those other Stoney Creek things in there? Again, they're advisory comments, or what do you think?
I think the Stoney Creek board members said multiple times at the meeting last night that those were just recommendations, and that they clashed with anything in the project, and they didn't feel that they would be necessary.
Okay.
They were things that they would have liked to see.
Okay, so we probably don't need to include them. And again, even if we did, they would be advisory, it sounded like. So. Okay, any other questions, comments by anyone? If not, then I think we'll close this matter as a public hearing. And again, this is something we can take up in a bit.
Thank
Brings
you.
it, brings us to item number 3, which is 819 East Main Street LLC, Sullivan Farm LLC, 819, 841 East Main Street, a special exception, research laboratory, general office in section 6.8, grading within 100 feet of inland wetlands. I don't know, are we ready to proceed this one? Or are we gonna, or we still need more additional information? We want to continue this? Where do we stand with this one?
Good evening.
No, Ms. Shansky, go right ahead.
Thank you, sorry.
Sorry.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Attorney Marjorie Shansky and I represent the applicant. And we are requesting that the hearing be continued to the November 3rd meeting of the commission. We have some material to bring to Mr. Smith.
Okay, so I understand there's some additional information provided to staff that you're looking to do before we actually open the public hearing. Is that it, Ms. Shansky?
Well, I think that we are opening and continuing.
Right, that's correct. We'll open and continue.
Yes, that would be our preference and our request, and we're grateful for it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so is that okay with everyone? Harry, is that all right?
Harry Smith, town planner, absolutely. I think that is the most efficient way to proceed.
Right. Is that okay with everyone? Commission members? Hearing no objection, I will, we'll just open and continue this. So for item number 3, then, this is, we'll be continuing this one to our next meeting, which is on November 3rd, also a remote meeting. So thank you, Ms. Shansky, and look forward to hearing your presentation at our November 3rd meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Brings us into item number 4, which is Metro 375 LLC, care of Robert H. Smith, applicant owner, 376, 373, 373-375, 377, 383 East Main Street, a PDD master plan modification. Is the applicant ready to proceed with that one?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and by the way, for the record, John Nuff, 147 Broad Street, Milford, Connecticut, on behalf of the applicant. You know, we have items 4 and 5, and probably makes sense to hear both of those together. And I think we can continue this evening's momentum of getting things through quickly this evening with this application as well. I assume there's no objection to handling both of these things together.
Certainly, that makes perfect sense. Item 4 and 5, item number 5, I'll just read it for the record, is Metro 375 LLC, care of Robert H. Smith, applicant and owner, 376, 373-75, 377, 383 East Main Street, a PDD master site plan modification. So yes, let's consider both of those together, and you can proceed, Mr. Nuff.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm here on behalf of Milford 375, which is the owner and applicant of the subject parcels. I think you all know that this project is well underway and is the subject of much well-deserved acclaim in town, probably meeting or exceeding everyone's expectations. And I know that my client is exceedingly proud of the results he's getting from the construction. So our request this evening is really very simple, and really just a question of math. Our application, our statement of use, and Harry's very thorough memo, sets it out very simply, but just a quick recitation. You'll recall back in December of 2020, the commission approved our PDD and other applications for the construction of 144 units. We made an offer to dedicate 5% of those units as affordable, and at the when the project was approved, a total of 8 units were designated as affordable out of the 144. Obviously, the commission, simply rounded up to get to that 5% number. Then in March of 2022, we came back with one more building. We added 44 units. We offered to make 2 of those units affordable so that the 8 plus a 2 would meet or exceed the 5% requirement. I think the commission viewed that application sort of discreetly, separate and apart from the prior application, and so it rounded up again and required a total of 3 affordable units for building at 383. So now we're left with 188 units, 11 affordable. So we're actually exceeding the 5%. So 5% would actually be 9.4 units. And so we're simply asking that we reduce the total number of affordable units on the project from 11 to 10, And the way that Harry has recommended that we do that is to simply reduce the number of affordable units in building 383 from 3. So we have no objection to doing it in that manner. So it's really a very simple question of math. We are fulfilling our promise to dedicate 5% of the units as affordable. So that's our request, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Duff. Harry, you want to review the staff report?
Sure, Harry Smith, Town Planner. The only thing really missing there is maybe focusing a little more clearly on, there's two applications in front of you that was discussed, merging them together. One is a PDD master plan amendment, and the second is an amendment of the PDD site plan approval. The PDD master plan approval was done in two parts, as was mentioned. So what in looking at it, I focused on the requirement in the one that was approved earlier this calendar year, which was, as was mentioned, 3 units instead of 2. You combine the whole thing together. I don't disagree with the math that was explained by Attorney Nuff. So I have a fairly lengthy memo because of the process involved, but really to cut to the chase, I have done the required referrals for the PDD master plan amendment, which are required by the regulations to go to the town engineer, East Shore Health District, which serves as the town sanitarian, the fire marshal, and the police commissioners. I have received comments back with essentially no comment from 3 of the 4. So the only one I have not received back is East Shore Health District. It's not surprising considering there is no impact, no change to the development proposal in the site layout itself. So really, as Attorney Neff mentioned, it just boils down to the math. I think that's really all been explained. It's certainly laid out in my memo. So really what technically would need to happen if you choose to approve it would be to change a couple of conditions. One in the PDD, actually a finding and a condition in the PDD master plan approval for the 383 process. And I have put this up either now, but I think Attorney Nuff has seen this. I don't know if there's any comments you want to make on it. If you're happy with it, I could stop right here. And I can explain to the commission after the close of the public hearing, if you like.
I'm happy with it. No objection.
Okay.
Harry, were you intending to screen share something? Because
I could, but I can wait until after, the vote. If there's really, I can wait. If there's any public comment, I'm certainly happy to go through it, but
okay.
I don't want to necessarily do it twice. It makes no sense.
Okay. Okay, here's I'll a question for Mr. Nuff. I mean, you're asking for a reduction of the affordable units from 11 to 10 for the entire project. That's essentially it, correct? And that I will confess that that rubs me. I mean, we're in the era of trying to do what we can. We just had a mandated affordable housing plan. Everything, there's a lot of emphasis on the state level and the local level and the region of trying what we can do for affordable housing. And this was something that you agreed to. I understand the math. I do. I understand.
No, and I want to be clear, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure. No, please go ahead.
Maybe it wasn't clear. So when we did the second PDD on 383, we made the offer of 2, and we were very specific, 2 units. The hearing was then closed, and then during deliberations, it went to 3. So it was always our intent to comply with, our oath to provide 5%. And so somehow I think, I don't remember the exact evening when the deliberations took place. I wouldn't be surprised if it was happening rather late at night, and the commission is probably trying to hurry through there and someone quickly do the math and forget about the other. But that's the only reason why we're here. So I think I think we're complying with the letter and spirit of our offer.
Okay, so you're saying that you offered 2 and we put 3.
Yes, exactly.
And whether by design or accident. And so okay, I understand that. I mean, it's kind of an ad hoc situation. I mean, the 5% is something we just sort of come up with, but okay. Well, I mean, I guess I understand that.
And I understand you say, well, what's the big deal about 1 unit?
Yeah, what is the
And
big?
I will tell you, it has a significant impact on value. And I think that if any of you have gone by the site and seen the quality of the construction, which clearly in these days does not come inexpensively, that, you know, it is a bit of a numbers game. And, you know, my client has, you know, dedicated 5% and like to keep it at that level, you know, and enables him to do those things with the development that the town can be proud of. So I don't think we're trying to back away from any commitment. We're just simply trying to stay within the confines of the commitment.
Okay. Okay, no, I understand that. I understand your point. Great. Any other questions, comments from commission members? Okay, then let's open it up to the public. Any members of the public wish to comment? Evan, do you see anybody?
I do not, but just one more time, down at the bottom of your screen, the reactions button, followed by the raise your hand function. And you can also type into the chat if you'd like to participate. I do not see anyone at this time.
Okay. Okay, any further comments, Mr. Nuff?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Great. Any further questions, comments from commission members or staff? Okay, hearing none, then we'll close this matters public hearing. And again, this is probably something we can take up a little bit. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yes. That brings us then to our minutes of October 6th. And I think those were sent out. That was a fairly quick meeting, as I recall, right? Fred was complimenting us on our quick meetings. So those minutes were sent out. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Or the minutes look okay with everyone? And if so, does someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes as drafted?
Yeah. Let's throw that out there. No problem.
Chadwick will make that motion.
Okay, Joe Chadwick makes a motion to approve the minutes as drafted for the Thursday, October 6, 2022 meeting. Is there a second?
Fred Russo seconds.
Fred seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Joe Chadwick,
Chadwick in the affirmative.
Fred Russo,
Fred Russo in the affirmative.
Joe Vayuso,
Excuse me, Joe Vayuso approves.
Marcy,
Marcy Pelosi approves.
and Chair also approves. So those minutes are approved. Gary, I think there's still one set of minutes from way back when we haven't approved, right?
I will check with our recording secretary, our recording clerk. I believe it's the last meeting in July, probably the 21st.
Yeah, we just don't want to forget that. I mean,
No, and I know I promised we'd have them for this meeting, but I do promise we'll have for next meeting.
We know how good your promises are here. Okay.
They're only not very good with respect to minutes.
Okay. So, yeah, let's go back then to the public hearing items, starting with the first one, the Brian Doherty. Maybe you can, Evan, you can pull up the staff report, the recommendations that you've had for that one. Okay, this is, which one is this? Is this the,
This is 616626 Leeds Island Road.
okay. Okay, are you sure? Is that the Milanos or is that the?
I think that might not be.
I'm sorry, guys. Is this it?
Yeah, there you
I'm
are.
having some problem with my screen 1, screen 2 indication. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I think what you have in front of us then is page 3 of your staff report of October 20, 2022.
Great.
So that's what we're looking at right now. So, okay, so this seems like a fairly straightforward application. There was no public comment. It's got the variance, complies with the regs. Evan, I think you already reviewed with us during the public hearing the proposed findings and conditions. And so does any, I'll open up, any commission members have any comment on this? And if not, does someone want to make a motion to approve the application by adopting the findings and conditions in the staff report that is being shown in front of us. Again, it's page 3 of the October 2022 staff report prepared by Evan.
So move, Fred Russo.
Motion made by Fred. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second by Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Chadwick in favor.
Fred Russo,
Fred Russo in favor.
Joe Vayuso,
Vayuso in favor.
Marcy,
Marcy's in favor.
and the chair is also in favor. So that application is approved. That brings us into item number 2, and that's Matthew and Stephanie Milano, 125 Thimble Island Road. And I think that was the one you had pulled up first, Evan.
Yes.
Okay.
I had taken a shot at that recommended condition, and please let me know if you'd like me to make any changes.
Okay, so the beauty of Zoom, being able to scribble and present it to us. Okay, so the addition was number 4, is that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends the applicant seek input from the Board of Police Commissioners for possible measures that can be taken to mitigate any traffic safety issues caused by the driveway's close proximity to the road overpass.
Or is that an underpass?
It's an underpass.
Sorry.
Okay. The only thing is maybe just Planning and Zoning Commission. I don't know if we want to just recommend, say just the applicant shall, or, we just direct them to seek input, or I don't know, I mean, again, I think it's, I would like them to consult with them, and have it maybe be a little more than a recommendation that they.
I can remove the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends and just put the applicant shall seek.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Sure.
Or is
Harry, so
that-
town planner, do you want to put in something, possible measures, maybe such as a mirror or something that we talked about, just to
Sure.
sort of point that up
Yeah.
as a possible solution that I know has been discussed and the applicant's okay with.
Right. Yeah, what do you call those things? A mirror, a street mirror? I mean,
I was-
I don't know if
Just
they have a
gonna
technical
add.
term. Yeah.
Street mirror, does that work for everybody?
Yeah, there's something about there's a bullet, something, I can't remember the terminology for it, but there is a specific, the curved mirror.
Oh, fisheye mirrors, I think.
Okay, we'll go with that. Sounds good.
okay, a fisheye mirror, okay. Okay, is that okay with everyone? I mean, it is advisory too. We just ask, directs them to seek input. I mean, but it's their call, not ours. Okay, then, again, I think this was a fairly straightforward application that, there was no public comment. I think the comments were with respect to the Stony Creek Advisory Board, which made some certain recommendations, but again, those were advisory. They weren't binding, and the applicant, it sounds like the applicant is proceeding with that with the architect. And on the safety issue, that's what the new condition 4 is designed to address. So I think we've addressed the comments of the Stony Creek Architectural Review Board, which I think were the only comments. Anyone else have any thoughts? If not, then again, this is the just for the record, this is the staff report for the site plan application prepared by Evan for 22-91 and prepared for the October 20th, 2022 meeting with the revision. So does someone make a motion that we approve this application by adopting the findings and the 4 conditions, again, with condition number 4 being the one we just added, to the staff report. Someone want to make that motion?
Joe Vayuso makes that motion.
Motion made by Joe Vayuso. Is there a second?
Chadwick will second.
Second by Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Joe Chadwick,
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo,
Fred Russo is in favor.
Joe Vayuso,
Vayuso in favor.
Marcy Palusi,
Marcy's in favor.
and the chair is also in favor. So, okay, that brings us then to items number 4 and 5, which is the Metro 375 application. And so let's, and again, the basic request is that we reduce the number of affordables for the whole unit from 11 to 10. The rationale is that they agreed to 10, which is 5%, and that we had approved 5% of the separate one, which made it 11. And so they're asking of a modification to approve what we originally agreed. And I guess the rationale is that this is a sort of a high-end apartment, and it's certainly well designed. It's gotten awards. They're doing a great job, and I'm glad to see it happen. I just wish, Anchor or no, what's the other one? Whatever would get underway. Atlantic Wharf. That's it. But yeah, they're doing great. So that's the rationale, and then so what do people think?
Fred Russo, I do not believe the request by Attorney Duff is unreasonable.
Okay. Fred, thank you. Joe Chadwick, what do you think?
If the transaction or the deal was made based on the individual groups of units as opposed to the cumulative project total, I could probably have a problem with it and argue. It seems as though the consensus and the recollection is that the 5% deals with the entire project. So I guess from that standpoint, 5% of the whole project, yes, the math works out. But if it was done based on approval of individual transactions or incremental parts of the project, then it's like, it's a unit. What's a unit in terms of all of this? And that's fine. I do get weary of the sort of accolades for the project. It still remains a vinyl sided frame building, and it's nice. It's better than what was there, but I am not getting sort of all bodice clutching about how wonderful it is. It's an okay project, and it's better than many, but it's not the rationale for cutting it any exceptional breaks. If the deal was based on 5% of the total, okay, that's the deal, and I can go with that.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Joe. Harry, what was the deal? Was the deal it's based on one project or two projects?
Harry Smith, town planner. I mean, the deal originally was about the 144 units, and it was a 5% offer. I don't know if it was lack of clarity on the collective, part of staff, commission, and the applicant possibly. But when we went to look at adding 383's property, another 44 units to the project, the two were offered. I don't know if there's any there was no explanation that I remember about, well, if you do all the math, it comes out to 10. Here's the 2 and the 8, and that's why we, punt 2. So we just, and again, this did happen after the close of the public hearing. And I think I will take the hit for it because I applied the 5% and said, okay, it's 2.2, which, to get 5%, you need 3 units. So that's what the commission decided to do. I mean, it was applied for as a separate approval, and there were possibly, I think, reasons, maybe even financing, why it was kept separate ownership. Now it's in combined ownership. It is one PDD. The original concept was 5%, I think, for the whole project, and the project just grew. So, I think it's the commission's decision to determine, but I think the 5% was intended to be for the whole project. So my take.
Chuck and Chair, thank you. Thank you, Harry. Joe Vayuzo, thoughts?
My thought is, if we're doing it on a 5% situation, and it comes to 10 units, I'm okay with 10 units.
Chuck and Chair, thank you, Joe. Marcy?
Hi, I specifically remember between the two applications, questioning the percentage and the parity of the percentage across other projects in town. And I'm not sure I remember what the specific percentage was, but I do remember that we kind of compromised because we had given that for the first phase. So I'm a little, I don't know that the 3 units was an oversight, but more a function of our deliberations rounding up for that specific project. But I just think it's very important that whatever we decide the correct percentage is across town, is that's the percentage that we need to be, telling developers they need to provide. And, I don't really like the argument that, affordable, it's a high-end complex so that, we can't have another affordable unit. I mean, you're telling me that poor people can't live in a nice complex? I mean, I think that's really a slippery slope. So, I mean, I'll begrudgingly, approve the 5%, but I'm not really particularly thrilled about it because I think that really it's not keeping pace with what we need to be doing with the affordable housing project. And I do remember us starting to come to that discussion when this application was being considered.
Chuck and Chair, thank you, Marcy. Yeah, those are comments. No, I think the original application, they only wanted to do 5 and we said 5%. So we bumped it to 8 because that made it 5%. And so, I mean, that's why, because I know there was some pushback from the applicant to get the 8 because they claimed, well, you only said 5 during the preliminary. That's what I remember. And I was saying, hey, look, if that was a preliminary hearing and I don't, whatever, 5 is 5%. So anyway, but those are good points. Anyone else have any comments? Okay, I'm sort of basing this also on Harry's understanding the legislative history. You're saying that they are one project right now, Harry, is that correct?
It is one PDD under one ownership, both pieces, so it's all together. Yes,
Right.
Harry Smith, town planner.
Okay, so do you want to go through the resolutions that you proposed?
Harry Smith, town planner, sure. Quickly, I'll just share my screen. I haven't proposed a resolution as much as a finding and a couple findings and conditions for the 2 different applications. So let me go through that very quickly. Hopefully you will see a screenshot. It says PDD Master Plan Amendment Application number 22-9, or it should be .9-4. Everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this will be the PDD Master Plan Amendment. It's technically amending the Master Plan Amendment modification that added number 383 to the PDD. So there's a little finding statement here based on part of consolidation of the ownership of one entity, commission fines, blah, 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 blah. This is consistent with, it's just, required verbiage stating you find the application conformance with relevant sections of the zoning regulations, comprehensive plan of zoning, and the plan of conservation development has been considered. And then this is a required finding for every master plan amendment, number 2, and A, B, C, and D. And then the condition would simply strike the wording that says is amended housing for it is amended to include the dedication of 3. So that was wording in one of the conditions, condition 1 of that approval back in March of this year, and changing that wording to including the offered dedication of 2 units. So that would accomplish what the applicant is seeking to accomplish there. With the master plan part, the PDD site plan approval, which was all the properties together, had an effective date of November 12th. That would be an effective date for this. So excuse me, let me go back. Also recommending here an effective date for the PDD master plan amendment of November 11th, 2022, since that would need to come first. The PDD site plan amendment application would need to come after the other one is effective, so it'd be effective 1 day later. Basically the finding refers back to the PDD master plan amendment you're approving tonight, which would be amended as through November 11th. So it's basically saying this application is now in conformance with the modified PDD and has this one condition, which would change the relevant condition of the March approval of adding 383 and the combined new site plan approval there from 3 basically to 2. So that's all that needs to be done. Thank you.
Okay, Chuck Anderson, any questions from anyone about this? So Harry, do we need 2 motions? I guess there's 2 applications, one
Yep.
for the, okay,
Absolutely, I would suggest 2 different motions, yes.
okay. Okay, let's start with the PDD master plan modification amendment. And again, does someone wish to approve this amendment and by adopting the staff report that's Harry has presented in front of us? Again, that's on his staff report for application number 22-9-4, both the findings and the conditions. Someone want to make that motion?
Joe Vayuso approves.
Okay, motion made by Joe Vayuso. Is there a second?
Fred Russo seconds it.
Okay, any further discussion? It sounds like there's some reluctance of doing it, but there's some basis for doing it. That was the sort of consensus. So all those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo,
Fred Russo's in favor.
Joe Vayuso,
Vayuso in favor.
Marcy Palucci,
Marcy's in favor.
and Chair is also in favor. Okay, Harry, you want to bring us down to the PDD master site plan modification proposed.
And that was with an effective date technically of November 11th because you referred to the staff report.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yeah, we're adopting as our decision the staff report, essentially.
Okay.
The
Yep.
motion staff report. So does someone want to make a motion with respect to the PDD site plan the master site plan modification to adopt the findings and conditions set forth in Harry's staff report that he reviewed with us and is currently on the screen in front of us?
Fred Russo, so moved.
Okay, motion made by Fred. Is there a second?
Joe Vayuso seconds.
Second by Joe. Further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
I'm sorry, Chadwick is in favor. I
yes,
was on mute.
sure. Fred Russo,
Fred Russo in favor.
Joe Vayuso,
In favor.
Marcy, Marcy, did we hear you? I'm sorry. Marcy, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, Marcy's in favor.
Okay, and Chair's also in favor. Okay, so that application is approved.
For November 12th?
Yes, yeah, as set forth on the staff report, yes. Okay, that brings us then to correspondence. Harry, you list the accessory dwelling unit opt-out correspondence.
Yep. Harry Smith, Town Planner. I'm just going to briefly share my screen and show the commission this letter, and I'm happy to provide a copy to everyone. I just didn't get it in the packet in time. And this was to Dennis Flanagan, the moderator of the representative town meeting. Basically, I went over, provide some information about Public Act 2129, the impact on how the town can regulate accessory dwelling units, how it's been done to date, the changes that are proposed in the state law, the mandate that municipalities must allow them on all properties containing a single-family dwelling, and explain the implications of that, and explain the opt-out provision the time period within which that must be completed. And described the action the Planning Commission took, and described the action the RTM is being asked by the commission to take, and provided the following reasons. And I went through the recording of the meeting back, I think it was last fall, when the commission decided to opt out and start the process. So I just wanted to put this in the record of the commission because that's one of the requirements of state law, that the reasons be on the record of the commission. So this correspondence going to the RTM and coming to the commission, I will send it to all the members. It's on our records. So that's simply it, period.
Thanks, Harry. And then has the RTM considered this? Where's it at?
The full RTM received this correspondence. They referred it to the Rules and Ordinances Committee, which met this week on Tuesday. I went to that meeting, answered some questions, and they voted to recommend to the full RTM that the town of Brantford complete the opt-out process. There would be an action requiring a 2/3 vote by the RTM to do that. So that hopefully would take place at their meeting in November.
Okay. Okay, so you remember, to opt out, you need to vote both by planning and zoning and by the legislative body, which here is the RTM, so.
Yeah. So.
Okay,
So-
anyone else have any questions about any of that? Okay, what else we got here?
That's it.
Okay, no other correspondence?
No.
Okay, that then brings us to old business, and looks like item number 1, it's a public hearing for our next meeting. That's the one that we continued, I believe, from our last time we had opened up about the neighbors and the parking. So hopefully we'll see if any progress has been made. And then item number 2 is KIOP Brantford LLC, care of Andy Lucibello, agent, applicant, and owner, 1025, 1091 West Main Street, site plan modification and parking lot lighting. And you know what? I see our longtime lighting consultant, Bob Creelan, sitting there. So Harry, what's going on with this? And
Harry Smith, town planner. We have a gentleman named Marshall Farnborg here, and Mr. Farnborg, I've made you a co-host, so you should be able to unmute yourself. And I don't know if you know protocol, and I should have explained it a little bit before the meeting, but I do have the plans. If you have them and want to share your screen and explain what is being proposed, that's typically how we proceed, but I could put the plans up if you don't have them available to you closely there.
Yes, thank you. Marshall Tromborg, on-site lighting construction manager. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and commissioners and everyone else, as well as staff. Just to kind of give a quick overview, representing the ownership here, KIOP Brantford LLC, also known as Kimco Realty. This is the shopping center known as Brandhaven Plaza. We're looking at, on-site lighting here. We're the lighting designer for this project. Essentially, the plan here is we're replacing the existing metal halide fixtures to new energy efficient LED. We're also adding in a few poles for some safety concerns, as well as replacing all the existing poles due to excessive corrosion around the bases. There's been some back and forth between Harry and myself regarding the plans. I will share them right now so everyone can see. All right, I think this is not working. Where's my screen? There we go. No. Wrong side. I must be having the same issues that Evan was having.
Okay. Oh, it's popping up now.
There we are. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Apologies. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so ultimately, we have our existing site lighting plan. As you can see, we have quadruple head fixtures through the main portion of the parking lot. We're looking at reducing that actually down to twin heads. We're able to get better light coverage, better light, I guess the actual term is ratios for our max to mins. With LED lighting, we're actually able to reduce the energy considerably by reducing the number of heads, but also reducing the wattage of the replacement fixtures. So essentially, that's kind of the plan. From our understanding, we are in compliance with as much as we were aware of in terms of the zoning regulations. I know Harry had some concerns about color temperature, pole heights, as well as the light output foot candle readings of the canopy fixtures that we are replacing between the two main buildings along the sidewalk walkways along the front of the building. There is also a section down in this corner right here that is not included in the scope. There's a Bank of America parcel that we are not touching any of the lighting that is existing there. I guess I'm not really sure what else I need to discuss at the moment. I don't know where we want to go from here, but essentially that's kind of the main scope of work here. We're just trying to replace some lights, get some better light, add a few just to fix some of the dark areas, and then reduce energy for the property owner.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Mr. Tromberg. Harry, want to review with us what your comments and thoughts? Or?
Sure, Harry Smith, Town Planner. I'll share my screen in a moment. You know, I do appreciate the desire to upgrade the lights out there. They are fairly old, is my understanding, and not, you know, taking advantage of current technology and so forth. I do believe that, you know, my analysis of it looked like they met the full cutoff requirements in the regulations. Though I haven't any documentation of that effect. They did have what they call backlight, uplight, and glare ratings, which seem to correlate with full cutoff, at least meet it, if not exceed it. The foot candle readings on the ground were under the limits in the lighting appendix and the zoning regulations. There is these fixtures in the angle here, and let me share my screen so I can point this out, which is sort of between Big Y and Coles. There's little dots here in a line. Those are all fixtures labeled an H-type fixture. They're, I believe, recessed. Are they fluorescents, I believe? Maybe they're LEDs as well.
Marshall Tromberg on site lighting. They are currently high output, high intensity output. They were replacing them with LEDs.
Okay. So I believe they're all recessed. I believe they're flush mounted to the ceiling. So there's no drop down, correct? Of the panels covering the light sources?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So they're simply not on the photometric plan. So their light output has not been added to the foot candle readings on the ground. So that would need to happen. And my sort of major concern here is these poles are proposed to be fairly high. I mean, usually we see something in the order of 20 feet, 15 feet to 20 feet in the commercial parking lots. These are mounted at 35 feet. Because the fixtures are mounted so high, excuse me, this is the wrong plan. This is the existing plan. Let me go to the proposed plan. So you can see here, these are the dual head fixtures. Essentially, I believe they're all in the same location as the current poles, which makes sense. It takes advantage of existing conduit underneath the parking lot. But when you get the fixtures mounted at that height, they can be fairly significant in terms of the amount of light they're throwing out. I believe the lumen output of each of these fixtures is getting up to 40,000 lumens. To give you a little bit of a reference there, about 900 lumens is about the equivalent of a 100-watt incandescent light bulb you have in your house or in your light, the outside of your door. So these are about 40 in each of the two fixtures. So together, these poles are throwing out the equivalent of about 80 100-watt bulbs. And they're also pinprick light generators. So it's a light emitting diode. It's not a bulb. It's very small surface location that's emitting the light. And it's an array of them. So my concern is that in the zoning regulations, there is a section And I will see if I can pull it up here. There we go. So we'll go down to this requirement. So this is the lighting section, section 6.7, outdoor lighting. At the bottom here, item number 7 is a requirement regarding pole mounted lighting. It says for all exterior light fixtures mounted on poles within a site, the height of the pole should be limited to the highest elevation where it does not produce direct light into properties adjacent to the site. And going back here, there's a definition of direct light, which is here, light emitted directly from the light source, the bulb, lamp, or diode off of the reflector or through the refracting lens or diffuser of a light fixture. So basically my understanding, it's the light in the fixture. If you can see the light source or the reflection of the reflector that reflects that back down to the surface, then that's direct light. So I think the idea is to have the pole height low enough so that you can't see those elements of the light fixture. And again, Mr. Creelan is here, and he, I believe, was instrumental in putting these together with the prior town planner, Shirley Rasmussen. So we can, and maybe we'll have some more comments about that, in a minute. But just to keep going on here, in looking at this, I looked at some potential solutions. I did get on the website for the manufacturer of the proposed fixtures on the poles. And let's see if we can find this here. Right here is the shields that are offered. This one looked like it had a lot of potential for curtailing that experience of direct light off the property. And I don't know if the applicant, Mr. Fromberg, had a chance to evaluate the possible use of this as a way to address the concern about direct light. But, I'll just throw that out there and leave it and put in my last comment out there, which is about the correlated color temperature. We have previously received this report. This was generated by the APA, and it describes the impact of LEDs and particularly the correlated color temperature, the blue-white light that's emitted by some LEDs. There's something called the correlated color temperature, which I'm not going to get the technicalities of it, but it's rated in degrees Kelvin, which is based on absolute zero. But it's not the amount of heat coming off of the light. It's the color temperature correlated to the temperature at which certain metal elements will emit that color. So this is proposed at 4,000, which is discussed in this document, which discusses the potentially detrimental effects of 4,000, 5,000 degree Kelvin fixtures at the correlated color temperature of that, and recommends that be limited to the 3,000, which we've been for a couple of years now recommending and requiring all LED lights to be limited to. So I put this document in the record. I think that's all I've got right at the moment. I can go over, I did not recommend any action by the commission at this point. I think we need a revised photometric plan, and hopefully the applicant can give us some more information about their exploration into the use of the shields, and maybe that would resolve, concerns.
Chuck Andrews, Chair. Thank you, Harry. So is the current concerns maybe the height and the shields?
The height and the potential of direct light to impact off property. Right. Some of the residential properties behind it, some of the residential properties on the other side of the entrance on Short Beach Road, and the roadways themselves surrounding the project. It's a corner property, of course, and pretty prominent.
How do we determine if it does have show direct light onto adjacent properties? I mean, how do you do that?
Anecdotally, I went out there and looked at the existing lights, and some of them are already out. The poles are between, I think, 32 and 40, but I could see numbers of them from the roadway. So you can see the metal halide bulbs. I mean, the light output from them, I think, is dimmed considerably, probably over time, because my understanding is that is what happens. over a couple decades. I mean, the light output drops down. And I don't know what the lumen output of these things, was originally or even is at the moment, but I could see the light source. So
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you. I do see Mr. Creelan. I just for background commission members, I think it's probably Joe Viuso and I were on the commission back in the 90s, where Shirley and Bob Creelan, basically drafted our current lighting regulations, and they've been tweaked, I believe, since then. But it was sort of, initial, which shows how old we are. I mean, it was probably, one of the first towns to do this and whatever. I think it's more conventional now. But Mr. Creelan, do you have any comments or anything you'd like to comment on? It says the host must unmute.
Doing it right this second. I just saw communication. There we are. So you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, there we are.
Right.
Can you hear me okay now?
We can. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you, Commissioner. It's great to be here. Bob Creelan, designer, lighting consultant. It's an honor to speak with you. So yes, okay. So just to sort of sum this all up, lighting regs were written for a number of reasons, but the concerns here that have been brought up is the visual of direct light. Now, the whole scope of outdoor lighting has changed drastically since when we enacted the laws, in the sense of the way direct light emanates off a fixture. We were in the bulb technology back in the 1990s when we enacted the law, and shielding was a more simple process to accomplish the control of the direct light offsite. And so with LEDs now, there's many benefits. Obviously, the energy saving, there's a lot of really great technologically beneficial things about LEDs environmentally. However, the grand difference in the way the lighting diodes, which have replaced the bulbs, emit light, they are now located in a fixture like this, which as would be called a full cutoff, is still a little bit of a different animal than the older type. So the now, instead of the bulb being up inside a fixture, it is now all the diodes laid out in an array on the base surface or close to the base surface of the fixture. So you wind up getting a lot of really and you may notice this even with the current LED streetlights we have. It's a very different and very intense distribution of the light off of those diodes. So the ability for it to not necessarily be read by a light meter at the edge of a property, where we used to be able to use that somewhat as part of the measurement of it all, you can still see very, very high intensity brightness from the bottom of the fixture, even when you're quite far away from it, in part because of the location at the base of the fixture and the intensity that emanates directly off of that, and in all directions from in a simple sense, from the base of the fixture. So the problem becomes, for residential, which you have on two sides of this the site, and then you have the busy roadway of Route 1 running along the front. So the goal in this, relating to the original regs, would be to minimize that direct light component. Now, the simple science of the higher poles, yes, higher poles will allow for a greater uniformity ratio across the actual parking lot surface and the pedestrian areas. The higher they go, you can think of the cone of light now as the higher it goes, the wider the base spread is. So you can tend to get a better coverage. But you now, with LEDs, open up the visibility of the direct light source over a larger area, including outside the site. So that is the goal in trying to, that would be the goal in trying to maximize how these lights contain the light to the site, deliver the best uniformity that for usage, navigation for pedestrians and cars, and at the same time be able to have a point off-site where you're not getting that direct light anymore. Now, Harry showed you those. I spoke with Visionaire, the manufacturer, today and talked to them. They have a lot of great shielding options. They are a progressive company that was just coming on the scene when a lot of the LED transitions were starting to happen. So they've been very, the reason they have all these shields is because this is a regular issue. And I get contacted, I was telling Harry, I get contacted at least once a month from not only around the country, but around the Europe and so forth, asking for Brantford's lighting sheet showing the acceptable and unacceptable fixtures. To this day, we still get this from 1997. And I have to tell the folks, okay, these fixtures, most of these don't exist anymore. These are bulb-based fixtures, but I've been trying my best to have those solutions like Visionaire offers, the manufacturer of these fixtures, in shields that will control the light given where you're trying to control it from trespassing, because that's the term they use, is light trespass. So hopefully that brought a little insight into what we're trying to find the happy medium here, in the sense of bringing the fixtures up. Yes, with shields, as without, you will still get a wider spread, though it may change the outer perimeter of where that light falls. So I did ask the manufacturer, do you produce photometric plots showing these shields, the different shields that they offer, applied to the fixtures at their designated height and so forth? And can you produce that? I mean, do you do that? So the original plot, I don't know, was that produced by the manufacturer? Often they are. Sometimes they just have an app that the architect will use. So there is that option to be able to take it in its position at 35 feet, apply like the egg crate type shield to it that Harry and I were calling. I don't know what they call it, but it looks like an egg crate. And then be able to see if the photometrics produce the acceptable uniformity ratio that we're looking for. And because I mean, it looks good as it is, but the concern is the direct light. Light levels are good, but the direct light is going to be the concern.
Great. Chuck Anderson, thank you, Mr. Creeley. Mr. Tromberg, do you understand what we're trying to find the solution? We understand your concerns. We're just trying to get this done and to satisfy the Department of Regulations that we do have this provision on regulations about the direct light. Do you have any questions or comments, and it sounded like Harry said we also need some additional information about some of the existing lightings as well. But I don't give the impression that we're trying to stonewall things, because we're not. I think we want to move this forward. So, but do you have any questions or comments or thoughts?
Yeah, Marshall Tromberg, On-Site Lighting. I don't think at this point we have a lot of questions. I think my main concern right now is probably the more so in the lack of a measurable way of detecting direct light. I guess that would be my biggest concern, because who gets to decide what is considered too much, I guess. I certainly, the egg crate shielding does exist, as Harry showed, and that is a possibility. However, and we can certainly model that in photometrically and see what that looks like. I do think it's going to drastically change the uniformity ratios. because generally you're taking your cone of light and now you're making it straight up and down. So your uniformity is basically going to go kind of haywire. But, you know, we can certainly try it to see what it looks like. I think in regards to light trespass or light spill, there's certain things we can do with shielding on any poles that are near the property line, that we can try to help, you know, mitigate that even more. The ones that are closest to the property lines are certainly going to be the ones that produce the most light trespass, we'll say. And then I guess additionally regarding the pole heights, I know it's been discussed that, you know, 15 to 20 feet is a standard. I'll say we do hundreds of shopping centers across the country every year, and 15 to 20 feet is definitely not something that we see regularly. I could see it in a new development being a requirement, but when you reduce the pole heights from a standard, you know, 30 to 40 in some cases feet down to 20 feet, you end up actually needing quite a bit more poles and lights in order to meet those uniformity ratios and to make sure you're meeting the not only the customer's requirements, but in some cases code requirements for minimum light levels. So I do want to kind of mention that you know, if there's further discussion on reducing pole heights, there's going to be quite a lot of additional light that's going to need to be added in order to make sure this parking lot is safe.
Right.
Okay.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So, thank you for that, Marshall. What I'm proposing is to take a look at where you've got everything situated, the pole heights, and see if we can find the solution. So to achieve to do our best to achieve the uniformity. The one thing that I really have to disagree about in LEDs, and this is really where LEDs make a difference, is that the idea of the fixtures closest to the residential areas producing the most amount of direct light intrusion compared to one all the way across the farthest distance from that position. It will appear visually the same with LEDs because of the way the light emanates off that diode. It is just that intense. And so that was an old way we could address that, because the angles and the shielding and the way it was applied. So I think it's going to come down to, it's a quality of life issue. You have residential people, they don't want to be sitting there all night with that, because I'm going to assume, as it has been in the past, that the parking lot lighting would stay on all night long. There's there's certainly a great argument about that too, but typically that's what happens. So, a person with how do you measure it? Well, a person with any room in their house or their bedroom having to have that light splash across their wall or hitting them in their eye while they're lying in bed is the measure. That's what we want to avoid, and that's totally righteous in the sense of why we wrote the laws. So without reading on a meter, that's what that would be what the goal would be, to try to eliminate that problem. And granted, maybe the egg crate carton is not the one. I think there's probably 5 or 6 other shielding options that they make. So it would be great to be able to find out if one of those was ideal for this. Maybe not that one, but I think that's what I would propose as being the first way to go at this, so that you don't have to start addressing the lower pole heights and the addition of more poles and so forth. Is to actually get photometrics from the shielding options and wind up, that being the only measure you may have to take to address this. And as far as the canopy lighting, those are not drop lens or anything like that. You're saying they're actually recessed. I didn't see the fixture type on those, the ones that are along the building canopy there. Do you know, Marshall?
They're a surface mounted flat panel, a 2x2 flat panel, just mounted to the surface. So they don't drop. They're still, they maintain the full cutoff. They're not a drop lens.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah, because even something like that, you could see that across great distances if there is a drop lens. But if it's recessed, that's beautiful.
If I could, I would like to make 2 more comments, if that's all right.
Sure, absolutely. Sure.
Thank you. 2 things. Currently the lighting schedule at the shopping center does not have the lights on all night long. I think that's an important distinction to make, considering we have residential areas surrounding. With this, we are actually also proposing fixture level controls that actually allow the fixtures to dim down based on occupancy. So after a certain period of time at night, after a time frame, let's say 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, and there's no occupancy, the fixtures will actually dim down to about 30% of their output. And then say someone drives through the lot or a person walks through, they will actually go back up to 70%. We don't bring them all the way back up to 100%. They go up to 70% for a period of time, and then they will actually go back down. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was kind of aware that that's another thing that's sort of going on in the background, but it isn't necessarily shown on the plans because there isn't a great way to show that.
That's great.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe, I don't know if that's on a piece of paper somewhere that we can just have, and so we have that. I mean, it sounds like we're continuing this. I appreciate you're willing to continue to look at this, looking at different shields and so forth. Mr. Creelan, I know you just popped up. I mean, I don't know what, are you continuing to, I mean, will you continue to assist on this one or?
Yes. This is really, it winds up being a win-win for all because nobody likes glare. Everybody hates glare. You may have noticed the new LED car headlights now. Oh my God. I mean, it's the other point of the color temperature, very important too, because the less of that blue light, this is all, it's all now the key hot points in discussion of outdoor lighting. So yes, if you need me to continue working on this, I would love to see the best outcome for everybody here, because you're going to have a better looking site without glare. You're going to be a better neighbor to your neighbors, and it's a win-win. I mean, we want to see that for everybody.
Great. Thank you. Harry, did you have other thoughts or comments?
No, I think everything's been covered. I look forward to, looking at some of the evaluation of the egg crate and the other shields, and hopefully, some combination of that can alleviate the concerns about the direct light, and then the applicant can take advantage of the existing pole locations and go ahead with modernizing the lights on the property. I mean, that's really, I look forward to that. I mean, I will mention that, and I've talked to one of the representatives of the management company, Kimco, about, everyone may have noticed going in and out of Big Y and Kohl's, et cetera, over the last couple of years or so. They've upgraded some of the landscaping, changed around some of the breaks in the parking lot, and added some islands and so forth. And that was all done without them coming in for a site plan modification. So the original site plan for the property, I think, goes back to the 80s. And I've talked with them about the need to do that. There've been a couple of tenancy changes, and in order to facilitate that, we propose that the applicant post the bond just to cover the cost of going back to the last approved plan. So the staff here could approve the tenancy changes without holding anybody up, but that needs to be dealt with. And I think they're doing that now, or planning to. So they're going to be seeking some professional assistance and come back in and look at that. And I think ideally this would all be done, together, because you'd want to look at where you'd want to place the poles and ideally put them in an island and so forth. But, I think this could probably go ahead as long as we can resolve everything, and, the other will follow. But I just wanted to mention that since it's outstanding.
Okay, thank you, Harry, checking under chair. Okay, so it sounds like we're going to table and continue this, the applicant continue discussions with staff on this. comments from commission members on this? Anyone have any comments?
Very briefly,
Yes.
we're spending a lot of time studying the sort of plan effect of the light spillage. I think it would be useful to draw some sections along Route 1 and along Short Beach. And I think that would tell an awful lot about the degree of bothersome light that would affect traffic approaching the site. And that may have some bearing on setting the pole height and the fixture height. Also, I've run across a number of light fixtures for LEDs that are modulated with acrylic lenses. I don't know how long acrylic lenses last. I don't know their ultimate optical quality, but a lot of promises were made in terms of their ability to be reoriented and adjusted within this array of lenses to focus light in particular directions. That may be something to look into also. But I think a section along each road to determine the amount of visible light from a person traveling in a car would be a useful exercise.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Joe. Other questions or comments from commission members? If not, then we'll just table this item. Mr. Trombley, we appreciate you. We thank you for presenting this to us, and hopefully we can move forward with this as we in future meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Creelan. Appreciate your assistance.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Okay, so continuing with our agenda. Item number 3 is Haskell and Barbara Rucco. This looks like a special exception for an accessory apartment. We have a public hearing on for the November 3rd at our next meeting. And for new business, it looks like we have a number, those are all public hearing. Item number 1, public hearing on the 17th. And also item number 2, looks like a public hearing on the 17th. And 3, we have a number of public hearings to be set for all of these. And I guess number 5 doesn't need a public hearing, but other ones we need to be set. Harry, do you want to highlight anything on the new business? It looks like they're all future public hearings, or something to be set. Anything you want to highlight for any of us?
Sure, Harry Smith, Town Planner. We are looking at putting on, again, we have the standing motion between you and I. We can set the public hearing, but just to keep the, might as well do it now if we can do most of them. Number 3 and 4, that's 3 Elms Road and 72 Sunset Beach Road, looking at having those in the 17th also. And possibly the Harrison Avenue, I think 5, 6, 7, and 8, actually 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 came in within the last week or less. So we're trying to evaluate the application still. I have met with the applicant and the engineer about 6, or at least an incarnation of a plan, maybe a couple of years ago. So this is now going ahead. It seems to, I've had at least a brief run through about it, but it's a little more complicated than some of the others. So we'll get back to you about 6, 7, and 8, and 5, as you mentioned, does not need a public hearing. And we're actually looking for a confirmation that it would not need a section 6.8 for a grading modification within 100 feet of an inland wetland. If that turns out to be the case, that they're not proposing any grading changes, I can probably do that one as staff, since it's really minor. It's just the addition of a sidewalk to address having a solid surface to a second means of egress. They've chopped the units up a little differently now than the way they were before in this complex.
Great.
Which is the Tommy Tanning. It's right across from what we just talked about, the Big Y Plaza. So that's pretty much it there, and we'll firm that up and review that at the next meeting so everyone knows what's coming next.
Okay, great. So that moves on to other business. Planners report.
Harry Smith, Town Planner. I just like to repeat or, the coastal vulnerability working group has, I don't know who's doing the echoing, so maybe I'm gonna stop here for a second.
Joe Vayuzo.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, sorry. So they have sent this presentation, which I sent a link to around again to the commissioners. I know several of the commissioners have already listened to this. The goal, I believe, was that once the commissioners have viewed that, the coastal vulnerability working group was looking to do a joint meeting and have a sort of a exchange of ideas. We've had a pretty heavy schedule, not as heavy as it was earlier in the year, but we still have a pretty heavy schedule of applications. So I think the chairman and I looked at possible dates, and one thing that popped out was maybe doing a special meeting for a limited amount of time. And one of the dates that seemed possible to us was the 28th, the week after Thanksgiving, specifically the Monday after Thanksgiving weekend. Another possibility would be the meeting on the 8th, the regular meeting, 8th of December, if that's not too busy. I mean, we don't really know at this point because it's a little far out. And also that's the last meeting. We don't have a second meeting in December. The next meeting would be, shortly after New Year's. So we can firm that up and talk about that later. I just wanted to sort of put, the 28th out there as a possible date and see if that's, a possibility given people's schedules anyway.
Okay, so we're probably talking about a 1 to 2 hour special meeting. This is again on the coastal resiliency. We would view the video and a discussion with the coastal working group. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as either a special meeting on the 28th. I don't know if people are around then. It's after Thanksgiving if you're going away. Or the other one was trying to put it in at the regular meeting for the 8th, but again, if it is 1 to 2 hours, and that's our last meeting, and sometimes people try to squeeze stuff in. So that may be tight. So I don't know if people, maybe what you can do here is send a.
Yeah, I can send something around so people can check their schedules,
Right.
So I can do that after the meeting. Absolutely.
Right, okay.
Another thing I was reminded of is that the election of officers is coming up in December. I think typically one of the alternates has been volunteered to nominate a slate of officers to seek the regular members out in terms of who might want to serve as chair and secretary. Those are the two officers of the commission. So I just throw that out there. I mean, we're talking about Sharon, either you or your absent colleague, Massimo.
Putting together a slate of
Yeah, I mean, the slate is 2 people, really. I mean, usually, sometimes I can't remember the last time there was more than one candidate for one of the offices, but.
Yeah, Fred, you've done this, right? You basically call people and say, call the regular members of the commission. That's why we ask an alternate to do it, to see if there's any interest in serving serving as an officer. We try to get it, and it's the 2 positions. It's the chair and the secretary.
Well, if Fred has done it in the past, we'll just.
Fred may want to. Fred.
He seems
experienced. Chair now.
But he is, but he got promoted to regular members. So
yeah, so
right.
That's why we had an alternate to it. So
I believe, Marcy, I believe Massimo did it last time.
He
did
did.
he? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So you might be left with a short straw, Sharon.
Okay, that's
by default.
Just let me know when it needs to be done, the deadline.
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call or something.
He was ineffective in getting me a replacement for my position, so hopefully, Sharon, you can do a better job.
Could have been failure by design. So that's that, and I don't have anything else at the moment. Evan, I don't know if I'm forgetting anything. If you want to chime in with anything you might have in mind that I've forgotten for some reason, or anyone else.
I don't know if we're able to do this tonight, but do we have to swear in Jane Ellis as the zoning enforcement officer?
We did actually do that when you were absent. So she is technically a valid zoning enforcement officer. We sort of caveated that, if you will, that, as she gets more and more comfortable, collectively, we would, she'd be handling more and more at this point in time. John Rosatsky would be, basically the main sign off. He's only in here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday mornings. And he also is going to be taking a break in November, December. So Evan is the default backup. And I am kind of the third string quarterback. I do things if absolutely necessary. No one else is here, but so that's sort of the lineup. I think Ms. Ellis has jumped in very quickly and learning things as fast as she can, and hopefully that'll all work out very well.
Harry, Fred Russo, it'd be nice to meet her. I know she had some kind of difficulty with the thing, but it would be nice if we could get to introduce ourselves, us to her and her to us.
Yep, absolutely. And I was looking, I actually discussed that with her today, and I was thinking on a meeting night when there was, less things on the agenda, and maybe if we do a special meeting to talk about the Coastal Mobility Working Group, we can do a brief, intro to Jane in the beginning, and then she could take off a stay or whatever, and that might be a good time to do it.
It'd be nice to do.
Yep.
Hey, Harry, how did you run into Bob Creelan? I mean,
I ran into him at the RTM full meeting, which I was at just to babysit. So that was a week ago yesterday.
Yeah.
I wanted to babysit in case there were any questions about the proposals. They were recommending it out to committee. So he was there for some other matter.
Nice to have a free consultant. So
yeah.
Okay. Okie doke. Anyone have anything else?
Yeah, I just have a comment about the resiliency meeting. I think that we should try to do it sooner rather than later. I think it's a really important issue.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're looking at November. Not our. We have two meetings. It will be our third meeting in November. So yeah, but we also got to check and see when they're available as well.
Yeah, I think there needs to be some lead time, and I don't know if everyone has had a chance to look at the presentations, so we'll give everyone a chance who hasn't done it to do it too. So
right.
Yeah. But I'll send around solicit around to check on the date of the 28th and see what we can do.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to get a date. That's the important thing. So
okay, will do.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Anyone else have anything else? Not, someone will make a motion to adjourn.
Fred Russo, I make a motion we adjourn.
Motion made by Fred. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second by Joe Chadwick. All those in favor? Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick in favor.
Fred Russo?
Fred Russo's in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Joe's muted.
Oh.
Joe's in favor, right?
He's not there anymore.
Yeah.
No, he's there.
He raised his hand, and that means yes.
I'm trying to unmute him. I've clicked the button, but it's.
Yeah.
So, maybe we.
There you go. Okay.
I approve. Joe Vayuso approves.
Okay. And Marcy?
Yes, approves.
And Chair also is in favor. So,
Good night.
okay, good night,
Hey,
everyone.
thank you all. Good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Brantford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BrantfordTV.org.